Hello, buenos dias, and ahoy. Welcome back to AmeriKnížky, a series of beloved American books by beloved American authors, or at least books in English. Maybe you wonder why people make such a big deal about women's history and telling women's stories. The reason is because many stories of awesome women throughout the course of history were not recorded because people weren't recording what women did. Nevertheless, a lot of women did a lot of really cool things. And if you want to read about a lot of different women who did a lot of different cool things in short story format, we have the book for you. It is called Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls. There are two parts to this series, part 1 and part 2. And today, for those of you who love science fiction, I'm going to read you a story from Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls 2 about Mary Shelley, who wrote the book Frankenstein. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Mary, whose mother died when she was just a baby. Her stepmother wasn't kind to her, and Mary missed having a mom tremendously. But she found comfort in the huge library they had at home. Every day, Mary would borrow a different book from the library and go to her mother's grave to read it. The books carried her away, far from the house where she felt lonely and unhappy. Soon enough, Mary started to write her own stories and poems. One day, she met a young poet named Percy. They had their first date by Mary's mom's grave and fell deeply in love. So metal. They ran away to Paris to be together. As they traveled across Europe, they became friends with many other artists and writers. One stormy night, Mary, Percy, and a few of their friends started telling one another scary stories. After a while, one of their friends started telling that they proposed that they all go back to their rooms and write ghost stories, and then see whose story was the most frightening. That night, Mary came up with the idea of a mad scientist who built a monster from bits of dead bodies and brings it to life using electricity. Everyone agreed. Mary's story of Dr. Victor Frankenstein was the scariest of them all. Her novel became an incredible success, and even after 200 years, people still love to read about Dr. Frankenstein and the terrible monster he created, all dreamt up by the amazingly imaginative Mary Shelley. Fun fact, this was the first book of science fiction ever created, and the first one to cross genres between horror and science fiction. So, if you like science fiction stories, you have a woman to thank. Keep reading, my friends. Nerds conquer the world.